Welcome back to my channel, everyone. I am going to continue reading the book Galactic Humans. Regenerating Worlds. Among the many scintillating stars in the blue canopy of the sky, how many worlds there are like yours, destined by God to serve atonement and probation. But although there are some that are more miserable, there are also others that are happier, like those of transition, which can be called worlds of regeneration. Each planetary vortex, moving in space round a common center, drags with its own primitive worlds of exile, probation, regeneration, and happiness. We have spoken to you of worlds where newly born spirits are placed, when they are still ignorant of both good and evil, but where they have the possibility of traveling towards God, being in possession of themselves through free will. We have also revealed to you the fact that ample facilities are given to each soul to enable it to practice good. But alas, there are those who succumb. So, God, who does not desire their annihilation, perhaps that they go to these worlds where from one incarnation to another they are purified and regenerated, returning worthy of the glory for which they were destined. Regenerating worlds serve as transition phases between those of probation and happiness. The penitent soul finds calm and rest on them and can continue the purifying process. Beyond doubt, man still finds himself subject to the laws that rule matter. Humanity still experiences your sensations and desires, but is liberated from the ungoverned passions to which you are slaves, freed from pride, which silences the heart, envy which tortures, and hate which suffocates. On all sides, the word love is written. Perfect equity resides over all social relationships. Everyone recognizes God and tries to travel in his direction by fulfilling his laws. However, perfect happiness still does not exist in these worlds, only the dawning of happiness. There man is still of flesh and blood, and because of this subject to vicissitudes from which only the completely dematerialized beings are liberated. He still has to suffer test, although without the pungent anguishes of atonement. Compared to Earth, these worlds are very pleasant, and many of you would be happy to inhabit them, because they represent the calm after the storm. Nevertheless, being less absorbed by material things, man perceives the future better, comprehends the existence of other pleasures, promised by God to those who show themselves worthy when death has once again released them from their bodies in order to bestow upon them the true life. Free then, the soul hovers above all the horizons, no longer the feelings of gross matter, only the sensation of a pure and celestial pure spirit, absorbing emanations direct from God, in the fragrance of love and charity coming straight from his breast. But alas, man is still fallible even in these worlds, and the spirit of evil has not completely lost its empire. Not to advance is to fall back, and if man is not firmly placed along the pathway to righteousness, he may return again to a world of atonement, where new and more terrible tests await. So at night, at the time of prayer and repose, contemplate the full canopy of the sky and the innumerable spheres which shine over your head, and ask yourself which ones lead to God, and ask him for one of these regenerating worlds to open to receive you after your atonement here on earth. Preface. Now that you have a very good understanding about the progression of the soul through the process of a number of embodiments to perfect itself morally and intellectually, in planets that resonate with each individual's particular state of being, let us visit together some details as they are related to the story of this book. It is known that I, Jefferson Biscardi, co-author with the medium Rob Gauthier, have the zest to understand and share my findings about the subject hereby presented in the purest possible way with those who are as excited as I have always been to learn more about the variety of ways, shapes, places, and times life can express itself. Every serious student will by the force of reason and personal integrity neither criticize or judge hazardly a material of this caliber. On the other hand, it would be immature and inconsequential for any of us to demand others to see what their inner eyes have yet not developed the necessary mechanisms to unveil. Many are not ready to see more than that which isn't necessarily in the pure view of their field of action and reaction. To those, time will talk. Through a process better known as psychophony, where the entity uses the phonetic organs of the medium who is more or less unconscious during the channeling, depending on each individual and sometimes also on circumstances. I have spoken to Trebor Yitney through the mediumship of Rob, This fellow extraterrestrial being is an evolved soul embodied in a planet of love and light of reptilian humanoids. We have written a book with him and his society as well, so if you feel inclined to know more about him and his planet, don't hesitate to look up Benevolent Hybrid Reptilian Humans. There are indeed too many inhabited worlds, schoolrooms to name or number, and we have particularly focused on communicating with those who look primarily exactly like us and who exist spread out throughout this and other galaxies. The human template used by the souls to stage in each of these planets have been perfected according to the collective level of spiritual growth, and also the conditions presented by each planet mechanisms in what refers to the inner organs and reproduction rituals. Presentations aside, Trebor Yitney, who also functions in the capacity of a spiritual guide to the medium, have made the connections possible to each of the human races, all more advanced than our own. These benevolent beings who so graciously agreed to donate a little of their time and wisdom in order to share with us what is life like in their planets, from where moral imbalances such as wrath, greed, sloth, pride, lust, envy, or gluttony, or any feeling of disconnection from self to others no longer plagues one's society. I am delighted to preface to you this book as a victor who conquered the Everest mountain of extraterrestrial intelligent life research, and I am sure my partner in service feels excited. I am truly humbled for having found favor amongst these races to be worthy of their attention and object of their kindness. I am excited to be given the opportunity to know their processes and to be authorized to fully share what I heard and discovered, word by word, in this transcribed material with you and our world. I wish you an unforgettable, fulfilling journey of expansion from which there is usually no return. All right. Now, most of these names are difficult to pronounce, so I will do my best. First race, Manila humans. Their planet is Hadomini. Their lifespan is 500 years. They're about 5'5", average 5 feet, 5'5". And the spokesperson is Lawarni. Age is 225 years old. Here we go. Hello, Jefferson. Yes, who are you? My name is Lironi. Where do you come from? I come from a system, a constellation that your race knows to be Cassiopeia. Right, and what is the name of your planet? The name of the planet that we have is a name that is not translatable in your tongue, but the best representation is Hadamani. Okay, and do you have a solar system like we do? No, it is quite different from yours. We have 2 stars instead of 1. Some of the planets that we have are around one, some are around the other, and more are around both of them. Whoa, awesome. So how many are around this first star? Well, let's start from the smallest star. There are 5 planets on the smallest star. The smallest one is a class of star that your people call red dwarf. There are 5 planets on this. On the next star is one that is closer to the kind of star that you are from. Smaller white yellowish star, slightly smaller than yours, and around this one there are 13. Oh, whoa, and which one is your planet with? I am one that is from a planet that goes around both stars. There are 2 of those. Okay, I didn't know that. That is great. Why is it that the other planets don't go around 2 stars and these 2 go? Any special reason? No, it is only the way that our solar system is formed in the early environments. In the early environments, there are some that were further out. One of the ones, the other one, not the one that we come from. But the other one was thrown out in a gravitational tug of war in an early environment from the star that is same as yours. Thanks. What do you look like? We look very much like your race. The only difference is that our skin is very dark, in between maybe the African tribes and perhaps the Spanish people, somewhere in between. And how long do you live in your physical body? About 500 years. And how old are you? I am 223 years old. Oh, okay, understood. And what density are you guys in? We are one that comes over the 4th threshold. We are starting to integrate more of the mind and consciousness into the 4th density. It has only been 3 generations since a full transition into the 4th density. So to what we understand to many other races that we meet is that we are still very young at this. I see. What do you know about Earth? I know what I've heard from many other races. There are many Palladian members that always connect that are very similar to the way that we all look. We heard many rumors. Some of them I am not so very sure, because when you look at a perspective, you must see it within your own eyes. You cannot take another's viewpoint to be your truth, and this is why I have been very interested to speaking to you. Oh, thank you very much for coming forth. Thank you for speaking to me, and to the race as well. How many people are there on your planet? About 49 million. That is a lot, not a lot. That is Is your planet as big as ours? Approximately half the size of your planet from the understanding of how big it is. And do you have government there? No, it is a society of sharing and giving others what they are in lack of. And it is a community. The word that your race would use to most accurately describe would be a communism or free trade. Trade is not the right word. Jefferson said, I know a good name. A resource-based economy. He said, that fits well. That is what we are looking forward to and experience in our future if possible. Do you guys have sense of humor? Yeah, it is slightly different from yours. Our humor is based on enjoyment instead of wordplay. Maybe perhaps because the language is so different. Right. Are your constructions in any way similar to ours? The still constructed places that you say are skyscrapers would be most accurately describing the complexity of the house, even though we don't make it the same way. It is very similar to this. We are all living in two main areas of our planet all together. Oh, I see. And for the education, how do you educate people? There is a set way. Once we are born, we are going through every family member that we have, connecting to them, learning everything they have learned, and once 20 years is by, then we go to a center point in the town and we collect information from many people who are designated to teach it. And once we do this, we learn very many things for about 10 years or more, and after this, then we go to study whatever we wish to do for the rest of our race. Perhaps a specialty school is how you would see it. And how are you born? Do you go over pregnancy like we do? Yes, it is exactly the same reproductive style that your race carries. Sexual activity, waiting for female to get birth, I'm assuming he means give birth, after about 2 years in the womb. It is approximately 2 of your years. Once the child is born, it is born fairly small, and it grows for some time. Probably it reaches full size at around 30 or 35 years. And does it stay around parents, or does it belong to the community? It integrates with society as we all do, but it stays with its family for its whole life. In certain areas of the town are many, generations after generations of family, and they all live in the same area and communicate. Family is something that we find very important to us. It is our tool of growth. Our family is what helps us understand the ways of our people, and also the ways that are best to integrate our own consciousness with the rest of the planet. So important in this is to stay and remain with your family and to give them great love and spend great time with them. How do you see the idea of God? We see your thought on God as varying from different from person to person, but the majority sees it as a deity who is creating everything and is also controlling the destiny of one. This is an average perspective in your planet, if I am correct. Okay, well, go ahead. The way we see it is also a creator, but it is not a complex personality. It is more of an energy of creation, something that has great amounts of physical energy and disperses it all at once to be able to have many other smaller parts, connecting with each other to create more. And this energy creates, it gives us our consciousness, it gives us our soul, and it gives us our existence. But it doesn't dictate the values, ideas, working ethics, or mindset of our people. What it does is it feeds us our own will to do so. I see. And do you have competitions, sports? We have various games. Competition isn't a proper word. We try to bring out the best in ourselves, and by doing this, we all compete with each other. But the idea of losing, winning, even though it is a great idea to establish who has won, who wins is not the important idea here. It is how much you have been able to grow within one event or within one competition. I see. Do you travel outside your planet? Yes, we travel to many solar systems around our area, but it is not as complex as some of the entities you've spoken to before. We are not at this point of consciousness yet. If we are being told correctly, this will happen soon, but we have to go through our growth and development before we get to this point. So how do you travel far? We travel to other systems and crafts that we have manufactured, one that uses compressed air, maybe nitrogen, oxygen, one of these elements. I am not sure which is called in your race, but it is compressed very highly and ignited. Not in a liquid form, but in a compressed gas